From BQE Restaurant and Lounge in the heart of Atlanta's historic Martin Luther King District, it's Newsmakers Live, bringing you the issues, politics, and perspective of the Atlanta community. Now in its 10th season, here is tonight's moderator and your host, 8-time Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist, Mr. Maynard Eaton.
On part 2 of Newsmakers Live, we will be speaking with the candidates for District 4, running for County Commissioner. We have Mr. Stephen Lee, Ms. Catherine Flowers, Mr. Reese McCrane, and Ms. Natalie Hall. Thank you all so much.
Hello, everyone. Again, part 2 of Newsmakers Live, the Fulton County edition, if you will. And we have, I think, the most fascinating countywide race we could have. These are the Fulton County District 4 candidates. These are all the hopefuls who want to replace the late and great Joan Garner, one of the best and most notable public servants we've had in quite a while. She really made her mark in this area and across this county. Seeking to replace her or hold her seat, if you will, is to my right, Mr. Stephen Lee, a former school board member, and he's also the vice president, the leader, the guru for UNCC, the Unity Network Counseling Center. To his right is Miss Catherine Flowers, a realtor and a dynamic young lady in her own right. To her right, Reese McCrane. Reese is a guru in terms of media. Worked at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport most recently, and was at City Hall for years, and can out-talk you any way you want. And to the right is probably the person who knew Joan Garner better than anybody on this stage, Natalie Hall, who lives in this area. She's the wife of Councilman Kwanzaa Hall, but she's also the former top aide to Joan Garner. Ms. Hall, what was she like, and why do you want her job?
Maynard, first let me say thank you to you and Newsmakers Live and to everyone here for having us. Joan Garner was a very unbiased and caring person. She was very dynamic in our neighborhood and beyond. She worked for the people, and when I say for the people, I mean all of the people, everyone. Joan Garner was honored on April 5th, which was the first board meeting of the commissioners. And April 5th, when she was honored, I was at her home. We video conferenced her into the Board of Commissioners meeting because, as some of you may know, she was fighting cancer. Unfortunately, she was unable to attend that meeting, but we were able to video conference her into that meeting on April 5th, where we honored her. And thank God we honored her, because it wasn't shortly after that when she passed. She passed on April 18th. When I was at her home on April 5th, we had a conversation, and she said to me, Natalie, I want you to consider my seat. And I pushed back, and she knew that I'm just not a politician. I'm not an elected official type. I've always worked behind the scenes, and that's what I do. I serve the people from behind the scenes. But that particular day, for some reason, she strongly had a feeling about that. And I told her, I'm sorry, but I just think that you're not feeling well. You need to rest, and we'll talk about this later. And I went back to the office.
But now you're running. Now I'm running.
Reese. And I'm running because the people have called me to run, and I want to serve the people, and I'm the best person to do that because experience matters.
Reese, why would you give up a comfortable job at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, a lucrative job, to run for a seat that so many others are also competing for? Why make that decision? What made you jump into elective office or attempt at public office for the first time?
Well, thank you, Maynard, for having us tonight. I have been working on the front lines for the citizens of Atlanta for the better part of 10 years. I've lived in Atlanta for almost 20 years. And in 2008, I worked on President Obama's campaign, and then I joined Mayor Reed's campaign and helped win the office of mayor for Mayor Kasim Reed. He won by 714 votes. So the last 8 years, 4 years of which I was in the mayor's office as his deputy director of communications, and the last 4 years, as you note, has been at the airport. So what we've been doing really for the city of Atlanta, for all of our residents, if you look up and down the line, we've been expanding funding for MARTA. We've added more police officers. We've increased cash reserves. And so I really want to be on the front lines even further and work for the citizens and help bring some of the best practices that we have in the city of Atlanta to Fulton County, namely around public health, namely around affordable housing, and especially property taxes. So if we're looking at how the county can really help people where they live, these are the things that we've got to focus on.
Catherine, give us a sense of who you are and why you're running in a very competitive seat. I mean, it seems like these folks might have the juice. You're a realtor, so you know homeowners.
Well, I will tell you. First, I'm Catherine Flowers. I am a Fourth Ward resident. I've been in Atlanta for 20-plus years. I came here to attend Clark College, and then I got an MBA in finance from Clark Atlanta University. And then I went into banking for a number of years. So I actually have experience. I have managed budgets. I've managed budgets when I worked with Showtime Networks, but that's not the reason I'm running. I'm running because I want to be a public servant. I'm running to serve the citizens of Fulton County and ensure that they get the services that they need in terms of fair tax system. We've talked about that. We've all talked about that. I am in real estate, and I understand the impact of high taxes on our citizens, and that would displace many people, so that's important to me. I understand the importance of affordable housing and how that would eliminate a lack of diversity if we do not have that. And the third thing is to create economic opportunities for the city. My husband used to work for Silicon Valley Bank and with private equity companies. Okay. We have a very good grasp of that, and I want to make sure that we leverage that to create opportunities.
Stephen Lee, to me, it seemed like you burst on the scene a couple of weeks ago with seeing you in the newspapers, like being a hero to folks during Hurricane Irma. Am I right?
Yes.
Was that political stuff? I mean, I saw you in the papers like you were helping senior citizens. Or is that you? I mean, it seems like you were everywhere almost for those 2 days.
Well, Maynard, first of all, thank you again for having us here tonight, but I don't do political stunts. I serve the people, and I serve the people from my heart. As a matter of fact, the people that I was serving didn't even live in my district, so they couldn't vote for me anyway. So those are the people they called. They said they needed assistance, and I went to them to see what I could do to help. You're referring to Big Bethel Village, where they was out of power for 3 days, and they had nobody that could come over in the system, that didn't come over in the system. So I got there. They didn't have food, so we made arrangements for people to bring them food. We fed them for 3 days, and they didn't have any power. So we brought out my recreational vehicle, my RV, started my generator, and we plugged up power so we could give them power.
Does that translate at all to what you could or will possibly do if elected?
Well, what that just means is that I have a pulse of the people on the ground. I have a pulse of the people that make the difference in what we do. The reason why I do what I do is because of those people. Natalie just mentioned that, experience matters. It does matter. And I'm the only one that has had elected office who served not just behind the scenes, but on front of the scenes, that being accountable and responsible for budgets for people. And Fulton County is all about providing services to the people that need it the most, and that's what I do.
Let me ask you, has this gotten testy? This is a competitive race. Are you for getting along?
Well, I'll just say, I think we're all adults. I think we all really have passion and heart, and we want to lead with empathy, and we realize that people are hurting out there. And I don't have time to play political footsies or anything like that. I want to go out there and get the job done.
Natalie, is being the wife and mate and partner to Councilman Kwanzaa Hall or mayoral candidate, that helping or taking something away from your candidacy?
It has been wonderful because it's a coordinated effort. It has always been a coordinated effort because he's been elected since 2002. And once I went to work for Joan Garner in 2011, I had to go everywhere with her as my commissioner. and I had to go places with him. So sometimes they would actually hand me off. I would go somewhere with Joan, and then we'd see Kwanzaa, and she'd say, you know what, I'm just going to go home for the evening, so go ahead and go with your husband. Or vice versa, I would be out with him, and I'd meet up with her and go somewhere. So this is the best thing that could have ever happened to us.
So politics is in your blood? Politics is what you do?
Oh, yes. Politics is in my blood. I was born into a political family in Chicago. Cook County, which is just like Grady Hospital, was renamed for my uncle John H. Stroger Jr., who was the first black Cook County Board of Commissioners president. And so I have a heart for Grady because of that, because I grew up seeing where people were uninsured and were not able to get hospital and health services, and my uncle made that possible in Chicago, and I support Grady 100% with that.
Catherine, why is this seat important? I mean, some people say Fulton County is passé now.
Well, it's actually not passé, and the reason I'm running is to ensure that people do know that it is not irrelevant. The key for us is to work with other elected officials. So once we're able to do that, and I have a business degree and I've worked in corporate America for a number of years, so I understand what collaboration means and how effective it is, I think we can work to serve our constituents much more effectively.
Steve, you had an announcement at 5 o'clock. I wasn't there. Some big announcement. Can you share it, or is it something? It was about money, or what was it?
No, it was basically letting our community and our constituents and those that support my campaign. We were hitting on the ground, and we're 4 weeks out, and so it was a rallying point to get the campaign really off the ground. And we're going to be doing a very, very comprehensive grassroots campaign. It's a campaign of the people. It's not big business, not big interest. It's about the people, serving the people. And so we invited people out and let them know that this was the time that we're hitting the streets. We were proud to say that Commissioner Emma Darnell gave us her blessings for running for this seat and her endorsement as a sitting commissioner that has had this seat and represented this seat for the last 20 years. So that's very big. And
let me ask you, to each of you, do endorsements really matter? Do endorsements still count in today's politics?
I think endorsements of the people that you're serving means more than endorsements of people that's not on the ground.
Catherine?
I don't think they're as impactful as they have been in the past. With the new technology that's available, we have more ways to communicate with voters directly, and I think that people are genuinely looking for people who are willing to serve in a different way.
Yeah, I think it's part of a stringent vetting process that people really should be vetted by their peers. If they're going to serve the people of Atlanta or any city for that matter, then you want to make sure that people who are your peers in your sphere of influence or what have you have vetted you. That said, I don't think it's a make or break thing. I think it depends on who's endorsing you. If President Obama endorsed me, I think that would help.
President Obama, say that again now. President Obama.
I'm teasing. That if President Obama wanted to endorse one of us, then that would be good.
I think endorsements are definitely very important, especially when it's the people that you serve who are endorsing you. And I have been endorsed by AFSCME and the Fraternal Order of Police for Fulton County. And these are two organizations that are labor unions that fight for the rights of the county employees. So I've been endorsed by the people.
Do either of you, any of you, have any preference for who wins the chairmanships? Keisha Waste was here. Rob Pitts was not. Does that race impact your race?
Not my race.
We've got our own races to run.
I think we'd all be in agreement with that.
All right. Okay. That was a flat question. One of the issues that across the board, all the city council races, Atlanta City, the mayoral candidates, I'm sure this thing of inequality and unaffordability, and affordable homes. Where are we on that? I mean, is that just a pie in the sky to sound political rhetoric, or can something be done to help reverse and change that, Steve?
Well, I think it's very important. It's not pie in the sky. It's actually reality. If we don't do something very, very quickly, we will see an influx of people in this city who have lived and breathed this city when the city was not where it is today, be pushed out of this city. So affordable housing is extremely important.
Some say even pushed out of the county, Catherine. And you're in the real.
I am.
I mean, pushed out of the city. Some say you want to be able to live in Fulton County. I don't know.
Well, I honestly believe that there's always hope for a solution. So when I hear people say what cannot be done, what I hear is you saying you don't want to do it. You don't have the conviction to do it. And so what we need to do is elect leaders who have the conviction to put forth policies that ensure that the county is diverse and maintains that. That's actually what enriches all of our lives.
Reese, what are you seeing? I mean, or is that an issue on the north side of town, or north side of town, or whites is concerned about
without
displacement?
question. Yeah, this is something that affects everybody. And it is one of the greatest moral failings of our government in our region that we have not had the opportunity really to address affordable housing in a meaningful way. And all I have to do is look at Old Fourth Ward, right? That's where you lovely ladies live. And the issue is, it's unrecognizable from when it was 20 years ago when I moved here. And Old Fourth Ward is not the only neighborhood that's being impacted by that. If you look at West End is one of those areas too that's gentrifying very slowly. But if we're not careful, you got to be really cognizant of what's happening there. So you got to use levers like property taxes. You got to work with developers. You got to ensure that people who are saying that they're going to build affordable housing actually do build affordable housing. The county's been giving money away as incentives.
Natalie, I saw you reach for the microphone twice. You have something to say.
Absolutely. I want to talk facts and not fiction. So first, let me address the fact about affordable housing. I bought my house with my husband in 1999 from what's called the Historic District Development Corporation. The person who ran that corporation was M. Tamanika Youngblood, who is also a supporter of mine. She's the chair of my committee. She did not displace not one person. She redid 150 houses in the Old Fourth Ward along Auburn Avenue. Coretta Scott King was the person who started HDDC. Now let's move on to current day. On Boulevard, there's a senior center that is a high-rise, and it's affordable. You can visit it when you leave here. It just right down Boulevard past the Atlanta Medical Center. And you'll also see an empty lot about a block from Atlanta Medical Center where there will be a high-rise. It's coming on board. Kwanzaa Hall's working on that. It will be affordable housing, too. On Boulevard are the lowest income people. It is the highest concentration of poverty in the Southeast region. And we have done a great deal over there, and those people were never displaced.
Can that be replicated across the county, though?
Yes, it can. It can definitely be replicated. But understand where the authority lies. You have to understand the position, and that's why experience matters, because there are some things that county commissioners cannot do when it comes to affordable housing. However, we can partner with those who can do, and we can make sure that it happens.
Steve, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. These two seem to have political connections. He's worked in government. She's married to government. Does a guy like you, who's a community activist, have much of a hope of getting things done?
Well, you know, I always say I have hashtag STADS, S-T-A-D-S, stop talking and do something. I've been an elected official, only one on this panel that has been an elected official for the last 4 years.
That's true.
I've served on the Atlanta Board of Education, and Atlanta Board of Education is actually one of the largest landowners in the city of Atlanta and in Fulton County. So we've initiated a policy for affordable housing for all of our extra property of our land. So it doesn't matter about the connections that they have unless you have a heart to serve the people that need to be served. Ms. Hall said that the majority of the lowest income population of people live in that area of Old Boulevard. I tend to disagree. I think in the 30318 area code, that is one of the most lowest poverty areas in this city, in this county, and really in this state. So when you look at that, you have to look at the whole area. You can't just look at Old Fourth Ward and the Boulevard area. I need you to come look over on the west side of town, too. I need you to look at MLK. I need you to look at Bankhead Highway. I need you to look on that area where only 17% of the people that live in those homes over there in the area are homeowners. The rest of them are renters, and they're being pushed out.
He called my name. Do I get to rebut that?
Yes, you do. Go ahead.
Thank you. My son just bought a house off of Joseph E. Lowry and Joseph Boone. I think I know about the highest concentration of poverty. The fact is, and the facts remain, that Boulevard is the highest concentration of poverty in the Southeast region. That 1 mile corridor has a number of families. They only pay $12 rent. Their annual income is only $3,000 a year. They're not even a dozen head of households that are men. Now, let's move on to 30318. I know about 30318 because my son lives there. And he's been renting his house out to Spelman students because we found out that Spelman had a shortage of dorms for the students. I think I know about poverty.
Catherine, you a realtor. Reese took a swipe at you too.
Yeah.
So before we get back to Reese,
No.
he's a political guy.
Okay. I don't think he was taking a swipe. But at any rate, I think that this is the problem that we have today. To suggest that Boulevard is an example, we all know that within the next several years, the low-income housing that's on Boulevard is going to go to a more market-rate housing. So a lot of those people are going to be displaced. And so the reality for us is that we need to quit dealing with falsehoods because that's not our reality today. The reason we talk about affordable housing, what we have got to do, especially in the incomes at 30318, is we've got to focus on economic development and creating jobs so that people earn a living wage to be able to afford to buy.
But these sound like Atlanta issues. What about the county for a while? I mean, where's the county on all this? Are we echoing what Atlanta candidates are talking about? Or does the county have its own unique sort of things it must deal with?
The county definitely has its own unique things that it needs to
Everybody talk
do.
about this, please.
The difference between the city and the county is the county provides your human services. The city does not. And that's where a lot of constituents become confused. We provide services that are like for homeless people, there are mandated and non-mandated services by the state. So you need to understand what those things are. My opponents, they have great ideas. They're experts in their own areas. However, you need to understand the position. We are trying to fill the seat of Joan Garner. There is only a year and a few months of that term left. We don't need someone to get in there who does not understand the players, the process, and how to get the work done. You don't have time to get in there and learn it. So experience matters, and the experience I'm talking about is I have the experience in-house in Fulton County working with the constituents and the employees to get the job done. I may not have been elected, but that's not always good. I do understand that they shut down a lot of the schools in certain school districts. So I don't see where being elected to the school board might be that.
Do I get to respond to that?
Since we're going to tit-a-tat here.
So yes, I am elected to the school board, and yes, we did close some schools and merge some other schools because we merged those schools because the attendance in those schools and the number of students in those schools was below 300. And if anybody knows anything about how you get funding for school systems, if you're below 500, then you don't get full staff, full FTEs, which is full-time employees. So the students get less when you have smaller schools. So we merged those schools so that those schools can have the numbers so that when the state issued out FTEs, those students had full-time employees and a full-time person instead of having to share that person with 2 or 3 different schools. So that's why we merged those schools. So to me, yeah, it matters when you're on the Board of Education because in the 4 years that I served on the Board of Education, we went from 51% graduation rate to 77% graduation rate. That matters.
Reese, let me ask you this. Will the north side of Fulton County, will the LGBTQ community matter in this race? We're talking about inner city kind of stuff. Do the other communities really have a say in the outcome of this seat?
So when you're talking about the north side, I mean, I look at it as one district.
Okay.
We're all part of one district here. And Fulton County, as a matter of fact, really, is the economic engine that drives the entire region. So I can't be looking at north side or south side or west side. We all have to be rowing in the same direction. I appreciate your question. But here's the thing. People want to know that your heart's in the right place, you have an idea for where the problems are, and you've got the demonstrated experience to solve those problems. That's why I'm running, because even though I haven't held elected office, or I'm not married to a council member or served as the chief of staff to an existing commissioner, I've been on the front lines with the mayor for the last 8 years on the issues that matter most to people. If we're talking about public safety, if we're talking about transportation, if we're talking about homelessness among our veterans that we have brought down to 0 in Atlanta, these are real tough things, and it doesn't happen in a vacuum. You got to work with other constituencies and other jurisdictions. The city, the county, the state all have to be working together.
Reese, as you well know, you've been around. Will race matter in this election as it will perhaps in the Atlanta election?
I don't know. I think we'll see. I think, I believe wholeheartedly that we're all going to be judged by our experience. We're going to be judged by our ideas. We're going to be judged by our ability to actually reach out to people. And, here's the thing. I've been working in progressive politics my entire life. And I don't look at color or race or religion or anything like that as a determining factor for why I would vote for someone. So I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, with regard to what we talked about earlier, in terms of what we are and are not responsible for, I think that is the issue. We have placed far too many boundaries and used those as an excuse not to get things accomplished for people. I think the reason that it is important that we not look at whether someone has held elected office or worked in public service before, because we've all served publicly. I've served throughout my neighborhood. I've served on multiple boards. So I have a very good understanding of that. But what I am saying is we have got to put people first and put their needs first, and that is not being done.
Let me say something before we move any comments. A good journalist, other than Reese, Jackie Minor is a good friend of yours. She said, "Man, you're going to be surprised how extraordinary Catherine is." Why is she saying that?
Because I have served in many capacities where people have had the opportunity to observe my commitment to people, my commitment to getting the job done, and my commitment to excellence.
I just wanted to make a comment about the city and the county partnerships. We used to have something that was called the Tri-J. It served the homeless. First, DeKalb County pulled out, then the city pulled out, and Fulton County was left to bear the burden of trying to provide services for the homeless. And so as far as partnership, that was an epic fail. And so I would like to actually have real partnerships with the city government, state government, and not these false ones. So understand that there have been things that have happened that have not been a partnership at all, even with APS.
Steve, what will make a difference in the outcome of this race on November 7th? What's going to make the deciding factor between the 4 of you, and I'm sure 2 or 3 others are in this race? What's going to be the telling sign, the telling difference between you and these other fine candidates?
I think, and I really believe that all 4 of us are mature enough and adult enough to actually let the people make the decision based on the platform that you put in front of them. I'm not running against Catherine. I'm not running against Reese. I'm not running against Natalie. I'm actually putting myself out for public service and presenting to the people of District 4 what I feel as though is the best opportunity and the best plan for growth and going forward. So I believe that whoever put forth the best plan for the population of the people in this county, in this District 4, then that would be the most important thing. It's not about individuals. It's about the service and the heart to serve. I'm not saying that I'm a politician. I'm not. I'm a public servant. I provide the service to people when they need it, where they need it, and I'm there on the ground. And so I think that's what we all are about.
Catherine, 2 minutes to close us out.
Yes, I was just going to say that it is a partnership, but a large majority of our district covers a portion that has historically been underserved. And so in order for us to move forward, I think we all realize that we're slowly being walked into poverty, whether we are cognizant of that or not. And so we are focused on the wrong issues.
Slowly being walked into poverty?
It's a slow walk to poverty. But in order for us to make substantive change, we need to bring forth and talk about real economic development opportunities, creating jobs that pay people a living wage, and there are examples of that throughout the country where we can use that as a model.
Reese?
Thank you. So thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for your time, Maynard. For me, the most important thing is to ensure that all corners of this district and the entire county have the absolute best choices in life, that they can work to their absolute potential, that we give every single person here the ability to survive, not just survive, but thrive. And it's important to note that the benefits and the direction that we've headed as a city for the last 8 years really puts the entire county on a good trajectory. So I'm running really to ensure that what we've done at the city can be translated over to the county, that we can give people hope, that we can give people the opportunities to live where they want to live so they're not displaced, that they can have good job training, and that we can work with Grady, make sure that Grady has sustainable funding, and that when the Trump administration tries and puts something on us, like defunding Medicare, Medicaid, or the ACA, the finances of Fulton County are in place, and we can shore up the finances of Grady Hospital.
Yes. Natalie?
Speaking of finances, currently while we are all waiting for this election, Fulton County is already in the throes of trying to decide what your budget is for 2018. That process is in place right now. I know that because I work there, in the trenches, on the budgets. So come January 2018, you're going to have a budget that's approved by the Board of Commissioners. For someone who does not know that, they're not going to know how to get in there and make sure that the budget has the programs and services that you need. Experience matters, and that means county experience matters. Knowing the players, knowing the process, and that's why I'm running, because I know how important that is for the people to get what they need.
Issues are also very important. What is the issue? Your husband had a big win today.
Absolutely.
He won
Marijuana legislation
passed
passed
the marijuana.
Yes.
What is
husband's legislation passed on marijuana.
But what is the issue that resonates? The issue, and we're really going to end on this. The issue that resonates for each of you as being most important in this Fulton County race. It's not Atlanta. It's Fulton County. The issue.
Maynard, that's a hard question because it's more than one issue. We are going to be faced with the property tax issue again next year. That is going to be a major one because the property taxes were frozen. And of course, there is no way that they're going to remain frozen. So we have to look at how to institute those property taxes next year so that nobody feels sticker shock.
Okay.
And that is involving budget process, which I mentioned before.
Reese, what is the issue? What is the one that sticks in your craw and will matter most to voters?
I'm so glad Natalie mentioned property taxes because the county's been kicking the can down the road long enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, for someone who's worked on the county, I would expect that she would know. We haven't had the kind of assessments really that are fair to property owners. And so the issue really is we got to come up with a way that people don't get penalized because of their homes. I'm not doubting the values have gone up. I'm doubting the way that they did it. They basically said, here's a 40% assessment, and you know what else hasn't gone up 40%? Your wages, your savings. So property taxes goes hand in hand with housing affordability and anti-displacement strategies.
So sticker shock is coming to be,
It's hurt. People are hurting out there. They are hurting.
Catherine, you're in the real estate business. Is that the number one issue to you too?
That is indeed the number one issue for me, to create with other elected officials a fair tax system that does not displace not just long-term residents, but sometimes in some instances short-term residents, because people have had significant property increases in their values over the last 2 years. So it's very important. And I see that as the most critical at this juncture, but it goes hand in hand with some of the other issues.
Steve, you and I have talked about young people, mass incarceration, poverty. You have you're a sensitive kind of guy. Property taxes or inner city issues?
Well, everybody is concerned about property taxes. I mean, property taxes is on everybody's conversation list that are homeowners. So, I mean, I'm concerned about property taxes. I'm concerned about the increases and the freezes, because when the county froze the property taxes, it has effects and a ripple effect on other entities. For example, Atlanta Public Schools. When Fulton County froze the property tax, it hit Atlanta Public Schools with about $6 million in the hole. So we have to be more concerned when we're at that level to see when we make those decisions how it's going to impact other entities and other agencies that is responsible, because although Fulton County controls the tax base, when Atlanta Public Schools get their budget, a lot of their budget comes from property taxes, and freezes does matter. But next year, it won't stay frozen. I agree with that. It will not stay frozen, and it will have to go up. But the way to do it is to do it in a way that it does not force people out of their homes and make people homeless. We have to do it in a gradual step, but I don't think that that's the most important issue of today. The most important issue of today is our young people and providing our young people an opportunity for success and move them out of the level of where they are and give them an opportunity so they can move out of poverty and into mainstream.
Nadia's not going to let you have the last word. She's not going to do it. Go ahead. This is her last word. She's not going to let you have the last word. That's not in her. It's just not in her.
At the county, we have an office of youth. And so the young people are being served at the county. We have an office of youth. And Joan Garner sponsored every year 3 conferences for the youth. Don't Touch the Fire, CEOs, which is Careers, Entrepreneurships, and Opportunities, and Emerging Leaders. So we do have a lot of services that serve the youth. And I believe that Stephen Lee is very good at Atlanta Public School Boards, and I would have loved to work with you from the commission seat as you were an APS school board rep, because we could do a lot of things together.
Ladies and gentlemen, this Miss Natalie Hall, former top aide of Joan Garner, Reese McCraney, a communications expert, Catherine Flowers, a realtor and Southwest advocate, and to my right, Mr. Stephen Lee, a school board member. Before I hand it off to my partner, Jim Welcome, for a final comment, I think we all deserve a round of applause for our 4th Ward, for the only gentleman for this round. But also I want our councilman from the 4th Ward, Mr. Kwanzaa Hall, to stand up and congratulate him for his victory today. It is a tradition here during our 10 years of Newsmakers for me to ask the questions and for Jim Welcome, my partner in crime, to add the period to it. Jim Welcome.
Sorry I'm not dressed for the part this evening, but I want to thank all of you for coming out. These people all are showing great dedication to the people of Fulton County. One of them hopefully will be elected. We especially love Natalie Hall because she lives in the 4th Ward where we hang out at. And my wife told me I had to say that, or otherwise I was going to have problems. But these people are good people. They're all great. They're all great representatives, and they all have great history. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Newsmakers.